I don't have much to say. The brother has broken it down. Couldn't have been said any better. I appreciate your knowledge and your wisdom. Can you explain a little bit about the Odu of Obara Meji for a second?
Sure, not a problem. Okay. Obara Meji, okay, is a part of that 16 major Odu. We're talking about the primary Odu. And Obara means to wake up and see. Okay, now, of course, the Odu express themselves, depending on the situation, it can mean something different. And that's when you get into, you know, understanding the movement of the energy. But Obara sustains the idea of the king of lightning. Okay, in the Yoruba, we have a term Ra-Ra, right? And Ra-Ra actually means lightning. Okay, so when you have Obara, you have Oba and you have Ra. So you have king and you have lightning. Now, if you think about what Obara means, you know, the definitive definition is to wake up and see. Wake up and see. This goes back to what Brother Alim just mentioned about the light body. Okay, we're dealing with lightning here. We're dealing with Shango. Okay, so when lightning hits, that quick flash, wow, Obara deals with that first instance of seeing what's around you. That circumspection. So whenever you see that Odu of Obara Meji, I want you to picture yourself on a hilltop and you're in a storm and the lightning hits, and the moment that lightning hits, you see a bunch of wild animals around you, and then it gets dark again. Okay, that's the energy of Obara Meji. Also, Obara Meji deals with the sustaining of your memory. So if you have memory issues, what you can do is like you could take ginkgo biloba and you smash it up, right? Smash it up into a powder, and then you draw that Odu of Obara Meji. You put it on a plate with that herb, okay? And then you affirm over it. You know, you affirm that your memory be restored, that your mind be restored, and it be tightened up. You be given back your gift of illumination that you came into the world with, and then you ingest it. You put it in some water and you ingest it over a couple of days. Okay, so that's what that Odu is dealing with.
I appreciate it. That Odu was marked for me in Oyo in Nigeria just a few days ago, and I've been kind of studying the Odu, and I really do appreciate your input on a whole nother level. On a whole nother level, brother. I really appreciate you, and may the ancestors again keep you. And just speaking of the ancestors, the question you clarified some things about Egun. You know, through the diaspora, it's kind of been changed up. You look in Brazil, you look in Cuba, and see the Lukumi systems, and they don't do a whole lot of the Egun masquerade. And you just gave me some insight on how we should be dealing with Egun. You know, you said sometimes we think we be dealing with Egun, we be dealing a whole different level.
Hags.
You know, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we have to be careful. I appreciate your time and effort, and Brother Alim and your wife, I appreciate you all again. Thank you. Have a good night.
No doubt, Brother Wayne.
Right, peace.
No doubt, Brother Wayne. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, them hags, those you know, those hags, as we say, also symbolic to familiars mentioned within the Bible. That's what the scripture refer to them as, because they can pose themselves as being ancestors.
Awesome show. I'm blown away. I was wondering, brother, if you could break down the metaphysics behind Met Kalfu.
Okay, you're dealing with Lawal. Okay, now you know the Lawal, you're dealing with the Vodoun. That's more the intellectual aspect, okay, of Legba. All right, so whenever that energy comes up or that name comes up, that's dealing with mastering that balance between masculine and feminine inside your head. Now, when you see some of the images of that one, if you look closely, you're going to notice there's going to be an erect penis and breast. It deals with the science of androgyny. What it's urging you to do is master time and space. Okay, that masculine energy represents the time, the feminine represents the space. And it's the mastering of that, the mastering of time and space. Okay, so that's, again, left and right brain hemispheres. So that's what you really want to start working with. When that comes up, you got to get into some Zen meditation.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, and that's funny because that's what I've been doing. I've been doing like a lot of trance work. lately, a lot. You know, just for the fact of going into trance and learning how things feel when you're in different, different levels of mind and stuff like that. But that's money right there. Okay.
Yeah. Mind magic. No problem. Everything ain't dealing with, cracking open a coconut and doing lighting some candles. The brain got some stuff with it too. So you want to use your mind magic. So that's telling you that you one of the mind workers. Okay, so you work that magic. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Sure, my pleasure.
Much love to everybody.
There's a lot of controversy that comes up sometimes over the mixing of systems, as we'll call it, when you're dealing with Vodoun, or even like Lukumi or Santeria, where there's, you have the saints and then you have the Orisha. And it's important to always understand that Orisha are evolutionary forces. So they're supposed to change. You're supposed to, look at Muhammad Ali and say, oh, Shango, or Mike Tyson and say, oh, Egun, Eartha Kitt, oh, Oya. These things are supposed to happen. You're supposed to evolve the perspective and evolve the view. So it's excellent. Like, the question the brother asked, he didn't even ask, from a voodoo perspective, he just threw it in. And that's one of the things that we have to start doing, especially when it comes to technology. These sciences are directly linked to things like nanotechnology, thermonuclear dynamics. All of these different principles were founded upon these negotiations that our ancestors made with the cosmos to understand how electricity moves, how wind moves in the body when we're dealing with energies like Oya, or as some called it, Jehovah, or Storm from the X-Men. There's also a piece that I wanted to share with the brother who called and asked about Obara Miji. And I also want to share that the word Bara itself means word power. Okay, and it is said in the Yoruba tradition that Bara sets Odu into action. Okay, so before you have any type of true activation of Ashe, there's an Odu. There's something. The Odu represents like a chakra point. It's like a womb to the galaxy. That Odu. So you have to open it. It's like you got to know the password. Open sesame. Having the ability or the spiritual authority is called Bara. Bara, word power. Okay, so that's something that for the brother, if that Odu came up for you, what you want to begin to start cultivating is more Bara, is more word power. One of the things you want to do is as you're meditating, as you're doing your chants, you want to do it with a little guinea pepper in your mouth. They also call it alligator pepper, or it's also called grains of paradise. Okay,
all right.
And that increases your ashe as you're speaking. And that's for anybody doing prayers, anything. Just give it a try. It's a little hot, so it's not going to burn you, but just be prepared. It's a little hot. Also, I wanted to touch upon, for those who also might have other questions about different Odus, to understand. I just want to give you I thought about the basic, not meaning, but the basic direction that each Odu takes us in. And we'll just deal with the first 16, the ODU Ifa, the Meridin Logun, which is 16, the 16 Odu. Obe being that first premier Odu represents infinity, going into the infinite. And its polar complement is Oyeku. Oyeku. And Oyeku means the science of death. And Oyeku represents the void. Okay, or to go into non-existence. Okay, so you have Ogbe and Oyeku, and they play off of each other, and they give rise to other energies. And then you have ED. And OD represents, again, when we were talking about the gross matter body, or the condensation of matter, or having molecules contract upon themselves and solidifying into something material, or the mother. This is ED. ED is actually represented by the image of a woman's behind, okay, which represents your foundations in life. And its opposite, or its polar opposite, would be Iwori. In Iwori, Shango exists, and Iwori represents your expansion, moving into space, into infinite empty space to expand yourself. So ED is your contraction, Iwari is your expansion. Okay, and Irosun deals with very similar to water. Take the IR out and you have Oshun. Oshun is the patron of fresh water. He deals with that flow of energy, things flow. And its polar complement would be Owonrin. Owonrin deals with the documentation of energy, not necessarily letting it flow, freezing it down, very similar to a flash of light. Okay, so Owonrin deals with the caging in of energy. And then we have Obara. The brother asked about Obara Meji. Obara deals with the desire to see. That's why I said it means literally to wake up and see. Because it's like Sawubona, which is the Zulu term for, it's a greeting, but Sawubona means I see you, as stolen in the movie The Avatar, James Cameron. I see you. Yeah, right. That comes from Sawubona. Okay, and that's that Obara Meji. It means to be, or to identify. Kuichakalia. And then we have its polar opposite would be Kanra, heart realm. So the polar complement of being and knowing, you're dealing with the heart chakra, your middle point, and it's that middle point of indifference where you say, these are the truths that I know, the brutal truths that I know. That's why Egun actually lives in the heart chakra. He's the brutal truth of knowing. Then, you have Ogunda, okay, and Ogunda deals with the things that we cement ourselves to in life. Ogun incarnates in that particular Odu, but it deals with your anchor points in life, okay, your set points, and its polar complement would be Osha, O-S-A. That's where Oya lives, and that deals with unlinking yourself to things. Taking it as it goes, kind of like a tornado. We just gonna move the wind. Whereas Ogun is iron, where it's like, no, you're gonna stay here. You're gonna anchor here. It's an anchor. I'm gonna use an iron anchor. And then dealing with the energy of like Ika. Ika deals with your sustaining of your physical body, and which could also mean sickness. And then its polar complement would be Otuapon. Otuapon deals with the releasing of your physical body, desiring to live as an immaterial spirit body, desiring to move away from mother or move away from matter. That's Otuapon. We also have Otura. Otura deals with to affinitize and congregate. That's that love energy. It is said that the religion of Islam came from the chakra point of Otura, that it was born from Otura. Okay, and then we have Irete, freeing yourself from the attachments of life, detaching from your human thought, from human reality. That's dealing with you. That's people who are kind of like oddballs, as we would call them, people who just kind of march to the beat of their own drum. Then you have Oshe, which deals with compiling or creating things. This deals with fire and also deals with initiation into higher societies and knowing, like initiating into hermetics will come under Oshe. And then we have Ofun, which deals with the decompiling or disrupting things, breaking them apart, and that would be the final Odu. So I just kind of wanted to share some insight for people who may have been born or had got readings under those Odus of what they mean in their more primal and base selves,
Right. Excellent. Let's go back to the phone lines. We got area code 818. Area code 818, you're on the line.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
You got it.
I'd like to thank you for bringing this very esteemed guest to our attention. And I have two questions.
Well, I've been practicing for over 20 years, but I have to honestly say I was born practicing, like many people have, where they just have that cathartic experience and they decide to change their life around. As a child, I was doing rituals and readings. It just took me a little longer to learn how to articulate what I was actually doing. But I've always been setting fires and seeing faces inside the fires, praying over the water, and pouring it on myself and my brothers and stuff like that. So I came into it with that. So I'm one of those people who messed up and had to keep coming back to the planet. So I was obviously already a Babala in my last life, and I came back with that consciousness because I messed something up somewhere along the way. Okay. Now, as far as your second piece, I can say that I've been able to manifest anything that I've desired to manifest. But as I mature and I learn more things, I'm learning a more varied breadth of what I want to manifest. Okay, so there really hasn't been anything that I've not been able to do as far as things that I've wanted to do. But I don't really know what the limit is. I don't know where that ceiling is as of yet. So I'm more kind of aimed there, more so than manifestation here. I'm more pushing all of the energy and the ashe I get, I push it back up to my higher self, my Ori Iparim, as opposed to pushing it back down to me, because this is temporal. So I've pretty much been able to do what I want to do, but the more I learn and the more I grow, the less I want to do, the less I want. I don't really want to hit the lottery at this point, or, have 500 wives. That's just not really my aim.
Well, it seems to me that, and maybe you could address this, that we get so bogged down in the minutia of life. Mm-hmm. You have to wonder, just to make a living and to, keep a roof over our heads and food in our mouths, which are basic human survival things, that what was the purpose in us being here and then having us to the point where we're at a survival level all the time?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, the purpose in being here is unique. My purpose, I might go outside of my house tonight to take my garbage out and get ran over by a truck. My purpose may have been only to just tell you what I just told you. It's unique for each and every one of us. That survival and utility mode, that's typically based on what we consider our creature comforts and our needs to be. You have people who have no homes and they wander, or they sleep in national parks, in shacks, and makeshift tents, and they're much more free, than someone at the car with a full tank of gas. It really is a personal preference. It's that attachment to this reality that makes us feel that we need to have all of those things. Sustaining and cultivating, over-cultivating, and overdevelopment of that root chakra, where we're constantly impressing upon ourselves the needs of our physical environment, which that's not really the case. There's technology and so many different things nowadays. Living off the grid is an option where we don't really need to be as focused on the petty aspects of utility survival. You can live for free. You can grow your own food, and that frees up more time to do other things. It's more important to have money to blow than to have money to save, because if you're dealing with money, because if you got money to blow, then you got money to corrupt yourself. The purpose you came here for was to be corrupted, was to be a flesh human being, and to take that experience and information and wisdom of corruption back up to Olodumare. Coming here and saying, well, I do the right thing, I pay all my bills, I do this, I don't go anywhere, you're doing the wrong thing. If that was the case, you could have just stayed in the Garden of Eden. If you just wanted to be a robot, you came here to live.
Can you perform any type of supernatural powers, telekinesis, teleportation, touch healing, distant healing, or telefuture?
Well, of course. Those are things that I do on a daily. I work with a lot of different people. As far as some of the things that we would call supernatural, I don't really consider it to be supernatural. It's just me being who I am. And that goes back to, again, that ODU of Obara. So every day I figure out ways to become more of myself. And the Egun and the things that you were speaking about, those Orisha, what those are those are images, reflections, and blueprints to the different things that we can do, to who we are. So when you talk about long distance healing or like even astral projection, well, the concept is taught to us through the Orisha Ochosi, who's a hunter. Okay, and then the more we learn about this particular Orisha, the more we learn about the things that we have inside of us, the things that we can do. There's a lot of things that I do every day. Teleportation, no, I don't really have an interest in that right now. It doesn't, for what I need, it's not as relevant. But there's some other things that I do on a daily that people call miraculous, that I consider to be a part of what we all can do, you can select to be that energy that astral projects. You can select to be that energy that understands telepathy. You can select to be that healing energy of Yemoja. You can select to be these things. So we all have that potential. What I teach people is things that, you know, from my own experience, what I consider to be necessary for our own spiritual liberation. Now, if I find that that's a necessary component and I need to add that to my curriculum, then that's what I would do. But the truth is, there really is no step-by-step formula for teleportation. Some people come into the world with different gifts. Some people come into the world with that gift. Some people can just look into a crystal and then put themselves somewhere else. Some people can do it by eating something. Some people can do it by smelling frankincense. Okay, so what I really deal with is education more so than training. If I was to teach step-by-step ways of how to do certain spiritual feats and tricks, then I would be training people. And that really is worth nothing. But what I do is I educate people to bring out those gifts that they came into the world with and to amplify and enhance those. Some of those gifts I may not even have myself. But that's the job of a good educator, coming from the Greek word edukar, meaning to bring forth. The good job of an educator is to bring forth that specialness that we all have inside of us. If it's teleportation, then I'll work with you in that. But I don't really need to give you a step-by-step. I just need to teach you how to get to your soul level and the thing will be revealed to you. Your own thing is, though, brother, we all come in at different levels, though. You know, for some of us, the dog wouldn't have even seen us, because our vibration is at a level where that dog wouldn't have even known that we were there. Okay, so depending on the level that you may need a step-by-step instruction. You know, and there's a level. It's just like some people, when they first come into the knowledge, they have to come through the Christian church, or they have to come through the mosque, because they have to be put in a position first where you can have a reasonable conversation with them. They may be strung out on drugs, you know, so they need something to get them acclimated to a certain thing. So there's different steps. You know, if you look at the movie The Game of Death with Bruce Lee, you find that at the highest level, there are no steps. There is no style. Okay. And so that's really what I kind of aim at. I try to get people in that space where they develop their own style, as opposed to telling them, well, this is how this is done. That's how that done. This is the name of God, because God is an evolving being. God is coming up with new names every second.
You know, I don't really know much about the Egun or anything like that, but is there a difference between saying something in one language and saying something in another language, or is the intent all that's needed?
Ultimately, your soul has its own language. It has its own syntax. And that's really what you want to aim to tap into. And again, that takes you beyond step-by-steps. That takes you beyond names. That takes you beyond language. Now, if you're coming from that place, you could just grunt and moan. And as long as your will, your directed, focused will is in place, then whatever it is that you're trying to make happen is going to happen. Okay, so there's different levels that you can come and tap into things at. If you're not coming from that place, then certainly, yes, the language that you say things in does make a difference. If that's not the place that you're coming from, certainly.
Good evening, brothers.
Greetings.
Greetings. Yes, my name is Awolaye. I'm a Muslim, bro. I've been a Muslim since about '88. I did the Nation of Islam thing, and you know, basically, you know what my foundation was, and I ran into Yoruba like in '96, '97, and it was, you know, it brought a lot of knowledge to me that I liked it. I liked it, the culture, so I got into it, and I received the hand of Ifa. Mm-hmm. And when I received the hand of Ifa, I received some kings also, and they gave me a clue of a Warren Otura.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stayed into this for about 7 years. Then, you know, things weren't going like I thought it should, so I got back into Islam. But since I got back into Islam, it's been since like 2007. And it's like a longing still here in my brain, you know, just talking to me and telling me that I need to take care of something for Ifa. Even though I left it alone, that's the only Ogun, Shango, Eshu, Eleba, all of that. I don't think about that too much, but the Ifa experience, it gave me my destiny. So I'm just trying to find out, brother, if you know anything about that ODU. You know, does that have anything to do with Islam? Because you said something earlier about that. And could you get to the Otura part?
You said the Odu was Oworin Otura? Oworin Tura?
Oworin Tura, yeah.
Right, okay. Oworin Tura deals with breaking away from tradition and creating your own tradition. Okay, that's what that Odu represents. You have the energy of Oworin. We were talking earlier and we said Oworin deals with the caging or the containing of energy. But what it deals with is kind of like saying, okay, I got this. Now what's next? You know, it's almost kind of like a graduation, but like in the same class. Okay, I got my times tables. What do we got next? Fractions. And Otura deals with peace. Okay, that's a very peaceful time period, peaceful Odu. And in that peace, in the absence of that confusion is when religions are created. Okay, so what that Odu deals with is a person who creates their own way. So you may have to create some Ifa Islam hyphens, you know, but what it really deals with is creating a tradition and a ritualistic way that works for you. And what's going to end up happening, you should document it, by the way, because what's going to end up happening is that other people are going to want to do what you do. Okay, it's very similar to like the church. And you have those church mothers who also do readings, you know, or they put your name in the book of Psalms because, you know, they want to get back at you for something. They put your name. They're really witches. And they witches sitting in the church. But they believe in Jesus and all of that. They've fallen out, shot the whole nine. But they've established something else that complements that. So really, they created their own religion. Okay? So that Odu deals with that you cannot be so loyal to tradition. That's what that Odu is telling you. Okay? You have to learn to break away from the tradition and create your own new tradition.
Oh,
that's why you feeling that hankering like that, okay? And that's
going back and forth. It's back and forth, you know.
Yeah, don't go back and forth. Like, don't go back to Ifa, and don't just stay with Islam. Try to find the common points between the two of them, and try to create something new, engineer something new for yourself using both of them. But it doesn't have to be an either or situation. Don't do that, and that's never good to do anyway. You know, don't be loyal to anybody's religion.
I never thought I can use. It feels like, I don't know if I should feel hypocritical, but it feels hypocritical to do both. Either you do one or you do the other. But what you're saying to me is combine both of them.
Yeah, all of these religions and even these Orishas are just expressions of a higher thought. Okay, so instance, you know. Even when you're dealing with the science of Allah or the peace, you know, we hear reports and stories about that entity that existed before Allah. Okay, now some will call that the triple stage darkness. Okay, that Allah came forth from. Okay, well, we have the same type of story in our Yoruba culture with Olodumare coming forward from this darkness. If we even start dealing with the 99 attributes of Allah. You know, and just start looking at the different names, you know, the different names of Allah. And you'll see, really, these things were used for ritual. You know, you take one name, you say it 1,000 times over a piece of bread, and then you eat the bread. It's a ritual. You see? So,
I got a brother that do rituals for me in the name of Allah in Islam. But he say he do it the Islam way. He's from Nigeria. But he don't do it the Yoruba way. He say he do it the Islamic way.
There's no such thing as the Yoruba way. Don't even worry about it, bro. That's like saying we do something the American way. Yoruba is a place, you know, and it's a language, but it's not a religion. You know, the reality is when you go to Nigeria and you get down with cats in Nigeria, they mix everything in. It's not like over here. Over here, they present this dogma because they know that's what you want to buy. So they say, look, you want to get initiated, it's going to cost you $5 G's, $10,000, and we have to do it this way. There has to be a goat. There has to be this. I'm going to tell you this. First of all, most of those Nigerian Islamic babalaos, they don't even do animals when they get initiated. They just do that when they come over here. because you don't need to use the animals, because you're just looking for the ashe. Okay, so you can get that from anywhere. You can get that from meditating, from praying, from deep breathing, doing qigong. You can get ashe. Matter of fact, Brother Alim was one of the first, if not the first people. I heard him on a tape some years back, and he was sharing how much energy is released in ejaculation. Okay, that's ashe right there. Yeah, so you can get it. You get the energy from wherever you want to get it from, and that's what it really boils down to. Not what name you put on it, but that man made up because they were lonely. I got lonely, so I'm gonna make me a god. Don't worry about that.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. You're welcome, brother.
You're welcome, brother.